Hello, my name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book rant. Today, I'm going to be covering this book, Shadowdale. It is the first book in the Avatar series. The Avatar series is set in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting for Dungeons and Dragons, and it roughly explains the major plot in the setting's Time of Troubles. Now, in that event, the Time of Troubles is a moment in Forgotten Realms history where the gods were sent down to the mortal world and were banished from the heavens specifically because of a theft and the over god perceiving them to be too petulant and petty and immature that they were not acting their station. And so because one or two deities stole this very important item, all deities were punished with the condition for their ascension back into heaven being the return, safe return, of those stolen items. Now, so this series bridges the gap between first and second edition Dungeons and Dragons and how certain aspects of lore in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting are affected. Primarily in second edition and moving on from that, deities gain power based off of their worshippers rather than being inherent to themselves. A deity without worshippers fades away into nothingness. Deities can still be killed by each other, but if a deity does not have worshippers, they're gone. Basically, how this event worked was that it made it so that gods were somewhat subservient to their worshippers, that they had to act in their worshippers' interest from time to time. And they had a portfolio, a set of beliefs and goals and so on and so forth. And that is what attracts a worshiper to their faith. Now, before I get into the actual details of the book, I am going to talk a bit about the physical book itself. I haven't dog-eared pages since middle school, so there's a page here that has been dog-eared, which indicates, well, one, I know I bought it used, but I just wanted to say that there are some pages that are dog-eared. Additionally, the top of the book has a stamp withdrawn. It's in mostly good condition. There is some wear and tear throughout it, but this is a good book. I bought this book in 2012 for $6.70, and you know, it was worth it. I've read it a couple times. I am going to go into why it's worth it, though. Firstly, this series covers the efforts of three particular mortals in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting, and by second edition, they are deities. The main part of this book follows three humans, a female mage named Midnight, a male warrior named Kelemvor, and a male thief named Sirik. There is also a fourth human, a male priest named Adon. Basically, Midnight is accompanied by a small portion of the goddess Mistra, the goddess of magic. And with the aid of Kelemvor, a cursed human, and Adon, and to a much lesser degree and almost antagonistic degree, Cyric, she is finding the stolen items, the stolen artifacts, where they were hidden, and is trying to bring them to the heavens through a very specific portal from the mortal world to the heavens. Now, very little of that actually happens in this book. That is more what happens in the series overall. Kelemvor is a cursed human. He is cursed to turn into a large feline in a kind of were-lion or were-tiger sort of way, but he does not have a hybrid form. He does not have any control over it, and it is a curse passed down through his family, not a curse passed down through being bitten. The primary antagonist of this book and this trilogy in general, this series, is Bane, the god of murder. The god of murder has been scheming with a couple other deities to try and disrupt the power in the pantheon of Faerun, and they got more than they bargained for. They expected some retaliation, but not so prominent a retaliation from the Overgod. So, Bane, this god, has a prominent cult, and this cult arms itself against these characters because Mistra, the goddess of magic, knows where the tablets were hidden, these sacred artifacts. And so Bane is trying to be the one to present those tablets to the Overgod. Mistra is racing to them first, and Mistra also knows where they are hidden. So Bane is trying to kill Mistra, and to do that he needs to kill Midnight, the female human mage. There is a single deity that is permitted to stay in the heavens, and that is Helm. Helm is a god of justice, and he is a guardian deity. And so he guards the entry back into the heavens very faithfully, to the point where he does actually kill Mistra. Mistra knew who the deities were that stole these artifacts, and so she tried to regain entry through snitching, basically. And Helm says, no, your permission to enter is based solely on retrieving these artifacts, and so he kills her. Now, another major plot point in Shadowdale that continues into the next two books in this series is that Kelemvor and Midnight develop not necessarily romantic feelings in this book, but a relationship. I'm fairly certain they do sleep together, but they don't have a romance in this book. They both like the look of the other, but there's something, there's personality getting in the way. Cyric, however, is covetous and jealous. He develops romantic feelings for Midnight, but is not getting any attention from her. And so he starts being antagonistic towards Kelemvor because Kelemvor is the focus of her attention. All in all, this is the setup for a series. The next book in this series is Tantris. Tantris, I will cover I don't know, a couple weeks from now, a month from now, maybe longer. I just wanted to cover this book specifically because it introduces these characters that do become gods. Nowadays, in the Forgotten Realms campaign setting, Kelemvor is the god of death. Midnight was the god of magic, but her death is what caused the Spell Plague, which led into 4th edition, and Mistra's return brought about the end of 4th edition into 5th edition, Dungeons and Dragons. And lastly, Cyric is the god of insanity, the god of murder, and his jealous actions provide a lot of moving pieces for what is going on with the deities in 3rd and 4th edition. So, Cyric's actions are very important for the cosmology of the Forgotten Realms campaign setting, and this book covers the start of that. I wanted to start off with all of this because it was a very interesting series that provides some context for some of the other Forgotten Realms campaign setting books. This book is 335 pages. The series covers 5 books, of which I only have the first 3, but the first 3 covers the ascension of 2 of those 3 deities. The fourth book covers the ascension of the 3rd of those deities, and it's a really interesting series. So I hope this is enough to convince you to try and read it and learn a lot of the details, a lot of these moving parts, how these relationships fit together, and get a sense of the cosmology for the Forgotten Realms campaign setting, which is the currently default setting for Dungeons and Dragons. So, it was a fun book. I've read it, I think, 2 or 3 times since I bought it. Hopefully, it will be worth it for you as well. My name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book rant.